Welcome to Council's Corner on Thunder Bay Live, and I'm here today to talk to Joyce Hunter and Kara Ludit. Did I say it right?
You did.
Welcome, ladies, first of all. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very kindly. Thank you for having us.
And today we're going to talk about walking with our sisters, community conversation. But before we go there, I just want to ask a question. Walking with our sisters, what is it? How did it get started? Tell me a little bit about it.
Well, Walking with Our Sisters is a commemorative art installation that was created by Métis artist Christy Belcourt, and it was in response as a way to pay our respects and honor the lives of missing and murdered Indigenous women. And she had put out a call out on Facebook to create the tops of moccasin vamps, each representing a life that has gone missing or murdered. And this commemorative art installation will be traveling throughout North America until 2019. And so it began here in Thunder Bay about towards the end of 2013. It was created a local committee comprised of community members that were really interested in supporting this issue as it relates to the Thunder Bay. And we brought this installation to the Thunder Bay Art Gallery back in September and October this past fall. And it created a huge response with the community, and people seem to really start to become aware of this topic.
Well, Thunder Bay is actually considered a hotspot for violence against women and girls, and in particular, like missing and murdered Indigenous women. And so when Christy put the call out and asked for community members to come together to support it, because really what she does is she puts out a call and community members answer her call through Facebook. And then what happened was that a loose association of different women who have interests and concerns or have been affected by violence against women and girls answered her call, came together, and then after that first initial meeting, essentially a movement was born. And today we call it, it is a chapter of Walking with Our Sisters, and we are called Walking with Our Sisters Thunder Bay. And so the art installation was held, and at the end, when it was over, we had so many people who came through who had experienced loss, whether they had a family member go missing or somebody who was murdered or was a friend of theirs. But it wasn't just Indigenous women who have had this experience. It was people from the broader community, and they spoke eloquently about the issues. And at the end, we did fundraising. We held teach-ins, bead-ins they're called, and so we have a group of women who bead, just as something that they do on the side. But they would host bead-ins, and it was a very you have vamps. In our case, we had felt hearts, and so we would teach people how to bead, and then just have very unassuming conversations talking about the issues in a very relaxed kind of environment where we're learning together, creating something, and then eventually a large collage was made out of the hearts, and so that was actually added to the large installation. It's going to travel all the way across the continent to the very end, and eventually those vamps will be laid to rest. But what's really interesting about those vamps, if you would have gone through the art installation itself, is that these were created probably through a sheet of tears that a family member had cried while honoring somebody that had gone missing or was murdered in their own lives. And we've heard some very powerful, very moving stories from people who came to Thunder Bay, who are from the region or are from the city, who had experienced this and who had contributed their vamps to the collection. They're beautiful.
Yeah, and I mean, in total, about over 1,300 people came together to bead these moccasin tops.
Wow. And
the project now has over 1,800 pairs of vamps, all pretty much representing an unfinished life.
I think I talked to a few people that did attend, etc., and I know that they were surprised at the numbers. Mm-hmm. It was kind of overwhelming, but very powerful, very moving. Mm-hmm. And the work that was done was exquisite. It was like a lot of love, passion went into it. That's what it seemed like. Now, Walking with Our Sisters Thunder Bay chapter obviously wants to start a community conversation. And can you tell us a little about this community conversation, what you're trying to do, where it's going to take place, so the people out there
Yeah.
know how they can get involved, how they can contribute, if they can, to making this city a better city.
You know what was really interesting is fundraising was done in order to support the national movement of these VAMPs across the country. And so there was actually money left over at the end. And we held a meeting at the end as a committee and as a community to report back and say, this is how much money was raised, this is how many people came through. This is what we were told. And what we were told, and essentially we were directed by the community, we do not want the healing and the dialogue to end here. We want it to continue locally because it started it ignited a powerful discussion. And what they said was, it feels like the beginning of a courageous conversation and we should continue it. And then so a decision was made at that time then to look to International Women's Day, which is Sunday, March the 8th, to host a community conversation where we bring together community members who have been touched by the issue of missing and murdered Indigenous women or violence, domestic violence, even from the broader community, because this is an issue that affects us all, whether we are women or we're brothers and sisters of family members who have been affected by it. And so, like, there have been a number of incidents that have occurred in the community at large where there were attempted abductions of girls right on the street in the middle of the day in different parts of the city. But we've also had just a report just in the last couple of days of a very serious case of domestic violence where a young girl and her mother were seriously injured and they're hospitalized. These are issues that are timely, they're not going to go away, but as a community we need to create a caring community response. I think the problem is that there's such a separation between organizations and corporations and service or providers to fill that gap. But as a community, as people who are raising our children and our families, we really need to have a balance between those two so that we're all involved in raising a family and raising a community that is connected and conscious and healthy and vibrant and supportive and nurturing to one another. So that's what we want. So hence the conversation on International Women's Day.
Now I know you were asking to and appealing to people to come out and support this conversation.
Yes.
Also, organizations, should they be involved? Is there people that you would like to see there at the table?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the reason why is because, like, we would really like to see, for example, like, say, a director of education come because they have the potential to say, hey, maybe we can look at this issue from a community perspective, but also look at ways in which we can create campaigns, kind of like the bullying campaign, but that looks at domestic violence as an example, right? We don't know what it's going to look like, but we were really hopeful that, like, say, somebody from the I Am a Caring Man program, for example. That program works with men who have been perpetrators of domestic violence. How can they be supported in order to not reoffend? What happened to them in their childhood that brought them to this reality, and how can we as a community respond? You know, again, we want to do this in a way that doesn't assign blame and isn't hoity-toity push you in a certain way. We want to do it in a way that's with a gentle touch, in a very caring and loving way, because when you're supportive and kind to one another, there's a much better way that the people will respond to you, and then also want to be involved in the process. Right? We don't want to alienate people from this, and that's why when we talk about it as an issue of community safety, we want to make sure that everyone is aware that it's open not just to Indigenous women. Yes, it's true that they're more likely to die a violent death in a domestic violence situation because of socioeconomic factors. But yeah, we want to close those gaps too. But as a community in general, we are hearing stories of attempted abductions. Let's deal with them. Let's talk about them.
Yes.
Thunder Bay, and I know this for a fact, we're having a tough time with domestic violence and violence in general.
Yeah.
I will say that it's interesting how these organizations start. And I look in my mind, I'm thinking about MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Started as a community organization, spread. Now everybody has awareness about getting in a car and having a drink. That, and it's now more in the education system, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But that started by the community. So ladies, I just want to say thank you for doing this and at least trying to get that conversation started and trying to get things happening in our community to deal with this issue. An issue we should have dealt with a long time ago.
Absolutely.
So Kara, Joyce, thank you very much. Or you have something else you want to add? Sure.
There's a little bit more. Like the reason why we're hopeful that different groups will come, like not just ordinary citizens, but people who are in a position of power, who can work with the community members who come. We are going to have facilitated tables, and they're going to discuss very specific issues, right? Okay. Like on education in the community, education in the family,
crime prevention,
safety, the youth. How can the youth be involved, right? So people, as a function of their job, specialize in those different areas, whether it is working with men or women in crisis and crisis shelters and those kinds of things. So we're really hoping all of those different professionals will come out. But when they come, we're going to ask them three very specific questions. Okay. What are the problems that you see in the community is the first one. The second one is going to be, what recommended action items do you have that you want to see implemented in the community? And then thirdly, what are you prepared to do? And then how much time do you need? Because we're serious. We really want action. We want to put action behind the words and the need and the desire to address attempted abductions and things like that are happening in the community. But finally, we're also looking to another day in the future, which is the United Nations Day for Elimination of Violence Against Women and Girls, which is November 25. It is our hope that on Monday, March the 8th, we will start the conversation and create action items and a plan that makes sense for us as a community that we design, and then we look towards November 25 to hopefully have something to announce in those different areas.
Well, Joyce, I certainly understand what you're doing and what you're trying to do here in this community, and I certainly appreciate that for sure. I guess the first step is making sure that people come out.
Yes.
And you want to tell them where to come, where to go, and what time. Can we go over that again, just one more time?
Absolutely. So we're going to be holding this community conversation on International Women's Day on March 8th from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the Lakehead University School of Law, and that will be on the 3rd floor at the Patterson Auditorium. And we really hope that the broader community attends this community conversation, and we can all work together to develop safer strategies in bringing an end to the violence in our communities.
Yes.
I'm just going to add Lakehead University School of Law is the former PACI, just in case you don't know where that is. And it's on Red River.
401 Red River Road.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Kara, very much for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joyce.
For having us.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. Thunder Bay Live, tune in. Every week we have different guests talking about various topics. If you have a topic you'd like to cover, please contact us at thunderbaylive.com. Have a great day. Thanks, ladies. Take care.
Thank you.